like my if like if you look at my frame, and I'm not saying I'm nearly as muscular as Gordon Ryan, but like Gordon Ryan is just a freak of nature. Like he's taller, he's long too, but he's insanely flexible. So
He's got
I
a good
mean,
pharmacist.
he does have a good pharmacist, bro. Send me your doctor's number.
Big old air quotes on doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Justin Lesko, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and a former pro MMA fighter.
And I'm Mike Callahan, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt and a law enforcement officer.
What do you think of when I say micro adjustments?
Yuck.
How many micro adjustments do you think it would take for you to tap me?
Listen, I'm not Ron Burgundy here. I'm not just gonna say whatever you write in the script. It's like, oh, Mike could never tap Justin because Justin's so good.
Well, are micro adjustments just a meme?
Yeah.
Is there anything actually useful there?
No.
Well, we could take a look.
Also, we have a lot of action from UFC 258 to talk about, especially Kamaru Usman's dynamite performance in his win over Gilbert Burns, which I think one of us called that.
One of us may have. Plus, somebody's going to jail.
You know who should be going to jail?
Who?
This douchebag from Cookeville, Tennessee, who ripped me off for a rash guard. This has been a 4-year battle.
You've been stewing on this for a long time.
Yeah, Endo Athletics, DJ Mackey. I want my fucking rash guard, or I want my $50 back. That's it. We were gonna storm this guy's gym for $50. We're gonna pay $300 to go down.
It's the cost of doing business.
I actually offered for you to go. I don't know if you knew this at the time. I know I told you after, but I also at one point offered to have you go down and fight this dude in like a smoker and for a rash guard. He's smaller than I am. Like that's the reason.
Yeah,
like,
I mean you want justice, but you want like fair justice. But do you know who?
Yeah,
do you know who wouldn't do you like that?
Yeah, crown rash guards. But hold on, let me tell you this. We're gonna tag this douchebag.
We're not tagging him.
And
we're not tagging him in this.
Oh, we're tagging him. Like you think that I don't have like
You have the password to the Instagram account.
So anyway, yeah, this guy's a douchebag. You know who's not douchebags are the guys from Crown Rash Guard.
Crown Rash Guards.
That's a segue right there.
That is a segue. Crown Rash Guards are affordable, minimalist rash guards, and they offer free shipping on all orders.
Yeah, and also, in addition to that, they're offering free returns. So if you don't like the order, if you get the wrong size, something doesn't come out to your liking, it's really simple to return it.
Don't order from some Yahoo in Tennessee.
Douchebag.
Order from Crown Rash Guards.
Douchebag
in Tennessee.
In Tennessee, yeah.
Don't order from some douchebag in Tennessee. Order from Crown Rash Guards, and you'll look as good as we do.
So yeah, head over to www.crownrashguards.com, and when you get to the checkout, let them know that we sent you.
Got to make sure you have the www.
World Wide Web.
If this is your first time joining us, please make sure that you're subscribed, and welcome to That Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. If you spend as much time as I do on Instagram and Twitter and Reddit and YouTube, you can't have missed the micro adjustments meme. Did you see this like live as it was starting to play out, or did you see it when I told you to look at it? Because I spend a lot more time on Instagram than you do.
No, I saw it when you told me to look at it. That's when I really paid attention to it.
Well, I think if you're listening to this show, you've probably seen it, but just in case you haven't seen it, some white belt had posted on, I think it was the BJJ Fanatics page on Facebook, about how he beat a 2 stripe purple belt because he like used all his micro adjustments, and he was like basically throwing in every catchphrase Gordon Ryan has ever said, and he just was getting roasted on it. It just became this meme about micro adjustments.
I'm finding it more and more common that jujitsu is used for as such like a major platform for all this fad talk, like all these fads, like micro adjustments and all these other terms that people try to coin. Like, and it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, do you mean that somebody did something in the middle of your match and you used a technique to counter what they were doing? That's not a micro adjustment, you fucking idiot. It's called jujitsu. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't want to burst your bubble, but your boy Gordon Ryan has said micro adjustments. He's all over his closed guard instructional. He's talking micro adjustments.
Or use micro adjustments.
yeah,
That's your dude.
it is my dude. And I mean, but at the same time, I just think that he's using that. Like, so somebody like Gordon Ryan who says shit like that, he's using that as he is putting his individual stamp on something. You know what I mean? Like, who else says that? Nobody. So Gordon Ryan is using these real-time modifications, and he's calling them micro adjustments, right? And then he's going to coin essentially he's going to coin that term, and that's what he's going to be known for. But there is no, I mean, like, what he is detailing is it's just you're making adjustments in the course of a roll or the course of a match or with your technique. Like, you're making adjustments. It's jujitsu. There's no reason to, like, you're oversimplifying it at that point. The flow of jujitsu is, you can word it any way you want, but there's a flow to jujitsu, and it's, reaction to actions and, modifications and adjustments, and that is what it is. Fucking micro adjustments. Fuck out of here.
I think you just don't like the term micro adjustments, because there are small things that you can do to improve your game in the grand scheme of things, and in individual roles, small things you can do that can make yourself better. You just
Right.
don't like the labeling.
Neither do you, but like we just said this, like it's the it's,
I like that you're telling me that I don't like you're telling.
but like what you're just saying.
I know what
is,
you're saying. I know what you're saying.
It's the idea that he's putting out there. It's jujitsu.
How small of a change do you have to make before you would label it a micro adjustment? Like, if you had like thumb in the collar grip and you went to like thumb out of the collar grip, would that be micro enough?
No, I just think out of principle I would never say the term micro adjustment. I would just say, like, I made a small change, just like a tiny little change, like.
I have never said the word micro adjustment to another human being, and now I couldn't say it to another human being because it's such a meme. It's like the opposite of regard. Like, I know that's a word and I coined that term, and I know you don't think it's a word, so I say it as much as possible to bother you. Like, it's like an opposite version of that.
Fuck micro adjustments. Although, but hey, Gordon Ryan's about to put out a half guard DVD, and I might have to throw out my Tom DeBlass half guard DVD.
Now, let's play out a scenario here where you buy Gordon Ryan's half guard DVD and you love it, but he says micro adjustments in every technique that he shows. Do you throw the DVD away, or do you just suffer through it and curse every time he says it?
I just like mute it and just try and go off of visual learning. Like, if you look at my frame, and I'm not saying I'm nearly as muscular as Gordon Ryan, but like my frame is more comparable to Gordon Ryan's frame than is Tom DeBlass. Like, Tom DeBlass is like short and stocky. Gordon Ryan is just a freak of nature. Like, he's taller, he's long too, but he's insanely flexible. So
He's got a good pharmacist.
Does have a good pharmacist. Bro, send me your doctor's number.
Big ol' air quotes on doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to this whole meme thing, this is what happens. This I'm saying this as a joke before everyone turns the podcast off. This is what happens when you let white belts talk. This is what happens when you let white belts post on forums. They
Yeah.
just don't know what they're saying.
They drink the
And
Kool-Aid a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're experts on the matter.
I'm not going to, this might be too broad of a statement, but if you're a white belt and you tapped a purple belt, there's a reason you tapped the purple belt, because the purple belt you didn't pass the purple belt's guard. The purple belt let you pass his guard. You didn't get his back. He gave you his back, and you're able to get the choke from there. But when you're a white belt, man, you just don't know what you don't know. And this is just a dude who went on the Fanatics thing because why are you bragging about tapping someone, whether you mention their name or not? Except for me bragging about tapping you in that tournament. Why are you going online to talk about how you tapped your teammate? Like, it's just a weird, I don't know, it's a weird thing.
We'll talk about that when we start talking about UFC 258. But don't be an asshole. You start. I can't stand people who brag about training sessions. I can't stand it. I'm always extra critical of myself in training sessions. I'm also very I want to say like humble too. Like if I'm doing well, like I'm always looking for things to improve on. But like when you go out and you're bragging about what happens in a training room, like that's just a douche move.
The obvious disclaimer is me and you, because we do a show for fun. So like, when we train, we talk about it because it's for the entertainment of everybody else, not just us. But like when it's like me, you, and 3 other people we train with, like having lunch, which we haven't done like a year because like a pandemic and everything. But I'm not going to be the one to be like, hey, Mike, remember when I hit you with that heel hook the other day? Like, I'm not going to be the one to be like, oh, me and B-White were rolling and I really gave it to him, because that's probably not true. But like, you don't need to brag about training sessions. It is what it is. Unless you're hosting a podcast show in which you're trying to make people entertained.
Every training room that I've been in, like it's like when we get going, it's like a war zone, and it's like there's intense training sessions, and there's back and forth, and people are winning, and then next roll the same people are losing. It's just it's back and forth battles. Like anybody who's tracking wins and losses in the training room, like you're off, man. You're missing the point. So
there's a difference though between being like tracking like, oh, Mike tapped me twice and I tapped him 0 times or whatever. But if you're tracking like, Mike hit me with 2 arm bars from the same position today, you need to work on that. Like, that's one thing. But keeping a running score, like me and you, I know that the score is way lopsided in one direction, but I don't know the actual numbers.
Yeah, for me, the easiest way to put it is like if you're tracking wins and losses for the sake of your ego, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're tracking, losses, and you're tracking, your progress and the outcomes of rolls are typically a good way to track your progress. But if you're doing that for the purposes of improving your game, I can understand that. But if you're doing it just for the sake of your ego, you're a douche.
You might as well start selling rash guards and not actually sending them and just keeping the money.
Yeah. Douchebag. DJ Mackey. You'll know when we tag you in this.
I post training clips all the time. Like, I'll always post like cool techniques or whatever. If you follow me on Instagram, I do my very best to post things without the tap. Even if it results in a tap, like I'm not posting, like me and you were rolling and I hit a cool sweep and I tapped you like 1 second after that. I'll cut the tap out because I'm not posting it to be like, look what I did to Mike. I'm tapping and be like, yo, this was a cool sweep, or this was a cool entry, or this was a cool choke. And I think that the best advice I could give would be, don't say micro adjustments. Don't talk like Gordon Ryan if you can help it. And don't shit on your teammates if you happen to tap them on a random fucking Facebook forum about BJJ. And it's just a stupid thing to do.
Right. Yep. Don't be a douche. Hey guys, we just wanted to take a quick break from the show to give you a heads up of what we got coming out for you guys this week.
On YouTube this week, in a few days after this episode comes out, I'm going to be putting up a cool technique breakdown that I did of Shinya Aoki hitting the heel hook on Eddie Alvarez from back in the day.
Way back.
Way back in the day. We also have a pretty fun interview that's going to be dropping later in the week, so make sure you check out that as well.
And also, we've been talking about it, and we're going to try to start putting out some in-depth articles that are going to preview fights. So this week we're going to look at the upcoming card. We're going to pick one of those fights, and we're going to put out an article with an in-depth preview. You can find it at thatjujitsupodcast.com.
You left off the WWWs there, I noticed. You kept them in the intro. And don't forget, if you're looking for a way to support the show, we do have our Patreon account. If you were listening to this on Patreon, you would be listening ad-free, and you would be listening early because everyone on Patreon gets early access to episodes. Plus, there's a ton of bonus content there. There's extended episodes, and we have a contest that's going to be coming up pretty soon, so you're going to want to check that out. Patreon.com/thatjujitsupodcast, and that link is below as well. Now you can sit back to the show.
Back to the show.
I'm going to give you the choice this week because usually I kind of choose what's, do you want to talk about Kamaru Usman first? Or do you want to talk about Gordon Ryan versus Jimenez first? Or do you want to talk about Ralph Gracie going to jail first? Which one you pick? Dealer's pick.
What's Ralph going to jail for?
When he attacked Flavio Almeida back, I think it was at the Worlds last year. Yeah. He's going to jail for like 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do 258 first, and then we'll talk jiu-jitsu news. But I wasn't really impressed with the card itself.
If you're a listener to this show, you may have noticed that we didn't do a dedicated preview episode, and we didn't do a dedicated, I recorded in my living room at 3 a.m. right after the card show. It's just because going into this card, I was excited because I love fights and I'll watch everything, but the card wasn't. We have a super card coming in 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is now.
Yeah.
This card was not the best.
It wasn't. But with that being said, the main event delivered. There was a lot of hype surrounding it. Earlier in the show, we were talking about, drama surrounding, training sessions and everything. So, the lead up to the show, all the hype was built around Usman and Burns being former training partners. Usman actually left Henry Hoof's gym and went out with Trevor Whitman. And
which you could see the Trevor Whitman effect in this fight. We'll get there, but
there was a lot of build up. There was a lot of drama. There seemed to be a lot of genuine animosity between these guys. And Gilbert Burns was talking about training sessions, which was a scumbag move. But I like both these fighters. I had Kamaru winning. I just thought that he's a more complete fighter. But that first round was all Gilbert Burns. So real quick, I didn't realize the disparity in reach, right? Because they're the same height, and Kamaru Usman had a 5-inch reach advantage on him. So when I see that, when they put the tail of the tape up there, I'm like, Jesus. I was like, because Burns is, he's fast, right? I figured he would be, just after watching his fight with Tyron Woodley, I thought that, because he looked quicker than Tyron Woodley, I thought that he was going to be the faster fighter in there. So when he came out and he tagged him and he dropped, I'm like, this might be it, And then by the end of the first round, you kind of saw it a little bit. I mean, he still won that first round, but the second round, things really started to change.
Well, Gilbert Burns, he dropped him in the first, and I definitely had a moment of, I told you, I told you, I told you. Can't wait to go on and yell at everybody on Instagram who said I was stupid for picking Burns. I picked Burns because I like him more. Usman to me is just whatever. Like, I have no attachment to him. I'm not like, oh, I can't wait to watch Usman fight. Like, it is what it is. But I thought, and I said on Instagram, I thought that I hoped that I shouldn't say I thought. I hoped that Burns was going to do to Usman what we all thought that Woodley was going to do to Usman. And it kind of happened in the first round. Burns hit him with that hook and staggered him and was in control. But Gilbert Burns even said today that he went, quote, Cody Garbrandt crazy, where he just started looking for the swinging wild finish and let his emotion take over, and that cost him the fight. And Usman took over in the second, and then dropped him, put him down, and pounded him out in the third. And yeah, it was a great performance by Usman, and it was good to see him, struggle in the first round and come back and win it. I'm not a huge Usman fan. I respect his ability and his talent, and I think he's a great fighter. I'm just not a fan. And
Gilbert Burns didn't give that fight away. He was beaten by a better fighter. If there was anything that could be considered a flash in the pan or a fluke in that fight, it was that first round because he fucking rocked him. But it was clear once Usman regained his bearings and everything, and kind of came to and got back into his rhythm, that he was the better fighter there. Trevor Whitman does not get enough credit. And I'm not going to say that, like coaches are a very important part of this game, right? But, I've always said, like, the athletes are the athletes, and like, but he is really, like, you could tell in these past couple fights with Covington and now with Burns, like Usman is just he's getting better and better. I don't know who's going to be able to.
No, like I have that listed as to talk about next of who do we think is next, and who has he not beaten the top 5 at welterweight? Who has a chance to beat him? Like, I don't think Stephen Thompson is going to pose a real threat to him. I don't know.
And here's the deal. The reason that I thought that Usman was going to win was because I saw him doing to Burns what he did to Woodley. His wrestling is as much hype as his wrestling gets. It's still underrated. Like, his wrestling is incredible. So I knew that Burns wasn't going to take him down. And I thought that he would just be able to kind of control the stand-up. But he's becoming more dynamic in his stand-up.
Just even the way he was using the jab was so much improved since he's been working with Trevor Whitman. And like, it's such a cliche, but so much comes off the jab. Yeah. And
he's long too. Like, he's so long for a 170 pounder. And he's big. He's a big 170 pounder. But just being able to establish that range, like the size difference was apparent very early on. Like,
and Burns used to fight at 155. He struggled to get there, but he used to fight at 55. Like, now they're talking rumors of, like, maybe it's more than rumors, maybe rumors plus, but Masvidal versus Usman coaching the Ultimate Fighter that's supposed to start in March. You would give Masvidal a shot at the belt on a full camp, because if you remember, he fought Usman on like 10 days notice, and it showed when they fought on Fight Island a few months ago.
Who the fuck has Jorge Masvidal beat?
Well, he had a very good 2019 because he beat Darren Till, which everyone thought that he was brought in to lose to Darren Till, but he demolished Darren Till. And then he flying kneed Ben Askren into retirement, into fighting whichever one of the fucking Paul brothers we talked about. And then he fought Nate Diaz for the BMF title. And he pieced up Nate Diaz because Nate Diaz isn't that great of a fighter anymore. And then he lost to Usman on like 7 to 10 days notice on Fight Island. So like,
yeah, that's it. I don't like if you're gonna give people who haven't fought a title shot, give fucking Leon Edwards a title shot.
Yeah,
Or
because
Khamzat.
Chimaev keeps pulling out of the fight.
Chimaev, yeah.
I get it. Like you need to push Usman a little bit if you put him on the Ultimate Fighter against Masvidal. Like that will sell. People will pay attention to that because they genuinely don't like each other. Usman fought Masvidal, but Masvidal didn't have a full camp. Like that wasn't a full preparation for a title fight. So like from a money side, that makes sense. From a fight side, you can make it make sense. But if there was any other better contender, I would say, yeah, have that person fight Usman, but I just don't see that person being there right now. So
yeah, I don't know.
Do Masvidal,
I don't.
guess.
I don't like how these guys keep calling out a 40-year-old George St. Pierre either. Like, fucking let this guy just go. You know what I mean? Give up. Like, Usman, do you, like he's like, I'd like to test myself out against George St. Pierre. I'm like, bro, get fucking real. Like, you would beat the shit out of him. He's like, I don't want it for a payday. Yes, you do. Because let's be honest, you're not a draw. Like, the only reason that you want to fight Masvidal is because he has some serious drawing power. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, Usman did set a couple records with this win, and he did eclipse GSP in longest win streak at welterweight. So you could say on paper he was the more successful fighter than GSP in terms of consecutive wins at a weight class, but
look, just pull up the
GSP.
records. Yeah, look at the resumes. I'm not. So anyway,
I was actually thinking about, obviously I knew all day we were going to be recording this show and I knew we were going to be talking about, and all day I was just stewing on how can I bring up Usman being better than GSP in a way that would make you really mad and it would be funny, but I couldn't come up with a way that we would still be able to record after I said it where you wouldn't just smash your phone and storm off. So
yeah,
I let that one slide.
I appreciate that because it's just, that would be total bollocks.
Oh, I like it. One more quick UFC thing. Dana White says that John Jones is going to fight the winner of Ngannou versus Stipe, and then John Jones goes on Twitter and says, I would like to make that fight happen, but basically drumming up the whole money thing again. If you remember, John said a while ago that he was never going to fight for them again unless they paid him money that they wouldn't pay him. So
he's gonna
interesting
fight.
that Dana announced who's going to fight next after this next heavyweight title fight. And John's like, oh, give me some more money. Maybe not going to happen.
No, it'll happen, but he's a big baby.
Phil Rowe fought on Saturday. It was the very first fight on the early prelims, and I beat Phil Rowe in 2015 in my pro debut, and it was very weird to watch someone who I have fought against
and
fight
beat
in the UFC.
And beat.
I mean, I don't want to harp on the fact that I beat him. That's not why I'm bringing it up. I did,
Okay.
but
well,
we
not
had
harp
obviously...
on it.
We had different paths in our lives, and one of us had their arm shattered in a fight and can never fight
here
again.
Here we go
but
with the fucking arm again.
I kicked him really hard in the arm.
Yeah, let's blame that
really
guy.
Hard. But yeah, it was kind of weird to like be watching someone that I've competed against fight in the UFC. Like I always hope the guy does well, obviously, because like I said on Instagram, anybody that he beats, we know that MMA math is super reliable and 100% correct all the time. So like if he becomes a champion by default, I'm a champion too.
Yeah, you're the champion. Yeah, 100%. I agree.
But he unfortunately lost, but like I still think he's a good fighter, and
that you're a better.
It was just odd. It was weird. It was odd. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Jiu-Jitsu news, kind of touched on it. Ralph Gracie, if you don't know the story, he basically felt disrespected by Flavio Almeida over like some territorial stuff about schools in the Bay Area or whatever, and kind of sucker punched him and jumped him at a IBJJF tournament, and then fled the country, and then for some reason came back to the country and is now going to jail for 6 months.
But do you remember when we were talking to Kurt and he was like hinting at that? Like, do we think that had anything to do with the fallout between?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate because Kurt still likes us, and I don't want to fall into speculation of.
Yeah, but like, yeah, that was some that I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, it was like 2018 or something that happened.
Yeah,
it wasn't recent.
That was some fucking bullshit, you know. But
yeah,
at the same time, Half is a fucking savage, so it's not surprising to see Half doing savage shit, you know. Can you imagine somebody trying to fuck with Half? Can you imagine somebody trying to fuck with Half Gracie in prison?
Yeah, yes, like one time, once.
Yeah.
One time.
Just like trying to take his like lunch tray or something, or like trying to like take his commissary because they see like this 50-year-old guy, and next thing you know, he just it's like goes fucking full Tasmanian devil and just beats the fuck out of everybody in the yard.
Listen, man, jiu-jitsu is not serious enough for me to go to jail over it. If you listen to this show and you don't like an opinion that I have, and you approach me in public and you want to fight about it, I'm not going to jail over it. Like, it's just, I'm not going to go to jail over jiu-jitsu. And unfortunately, Half didn't share that same sentiment, so he'll be
yeah. That was a shame that happened, but you know, moving on. Correct me if I have the date wrong, but April 26th is Who's Number One. Yeah,
and it's Gordon Ryan versus Roberto Jimenez. And Gordon is filling in for Nikki, who was supposed to fight him, but Nikki got injured. And I saw a lot of sort of weird responses from people in comment sections about this fight announcement.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are saying that like Gordon shouldn't be fighting a guy this small. Gordon shouldn't be fighting a guy who's this new to black belt. A lot of people are excited because you know, Roberto is an exciting grappler, and it's not going to be, you know, some boring ass match. At the end of the day, though, it's not going to go well for Mr. Jimenez.
I don't think he's going to win, but like, what do you have to lose? You know
right?
what I mean?
Like, yeah. If you're him, like, yeah, you got to go balls to the wall. Like, you're not going. If you're Roberto Jimenez, you're not going in there to try and, you know, take this thing to a decision. Like, you're going balls to the wall. You're throwing everything you fucking have at this guy, you know.
Which is his style anyway. That's how he competes anyway.
He's going to get the shit kicked out of him. It's going to be bad. It will be one of it. You know, and taking nothing against Roberto, taking nothing away from him. It's you know, it's just not gonna. It's one of those things. I almost feel confident saying that Gordon could say what kind of technique he was going to submit, like he did with Halleck, and say the technique and give it like a time frame, and he could probably do it. And there's nothing about the technique, because Roberto's technique is amazing. But now you're talking about, you know, Gordon fights these monsters all the time that are bigger than him, and now he's going to fight a smaller guy, and it's just not going to go well.
I think there's fewer paths to victory, but it could still happen. It's a jiu-jitsu match. You never know. That's why they fight the fights. But
yeah, it's not going to though. But
that's the same card as Craig Jones and Ronaldo Jr.
That's going to be good.
That's a pretty stacked event, and
couple of the Daisy Fresh boys are going to be on there too. So
the Who's Number One? It's like, they're pretty slamming shows all the time. They're always good shows. Except when Elizabeth Clay gets robbed by Gabby Garcia, who didn't do anything to her, and I'm still bitter over it like a couple months ago. I know. Bothers me. It just bothers me.
I know.
We do have a lot of good stuff coming up. You know, we kind of hinted at it earlier, but we have it's UFC 259. I think it's March 2nd. But it's the Izzy fight against Jan for 205
No, it's March
title.
6th. It's March 6th. That's
March
the one
6th,
that.
sorry.
Yeah, it's the one that Sean Brady's fighting on.
Yeah, so we'll do a big breakdown
Yep.
in the lead up to that one. We'll do a big post fight for that one. That's a huge stacked card. I'm assuming that since Izzy's fighting on March 6th, that it might be like March 9th that he and I can get together and have our sub-only match.
Nothing else is holding him back now.
Nice. I mean, he can bring his 2 belts. I'll talk to Chael P and set it up, and we'll make it happen because still coming for Izzy. But we got a lot of good stuff coming up. I think it's an exciting time to be a fight fan.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We put the links to our social media below, so if you want to follow us individually or if you want to follow the show, just click the links, check it out.
If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed. We have a lot of content coming this week, like we talked about a little bit earlier, including this submission. You don't want to miss any of it, so make sure you're subscribed. Say micro adjustments.
I can't do it.
See, this week was easy. I knew what I was going to try to make you say.
Yeah.
Micro adjustments.
All
right. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.